It's a major sticking point in bipartisan police reform negotiations on Capitol Hill. But some states, and now New York City, have taken steps to end or limit qualified immunity.
News 12's Tama Ponton tells us about the controversial law that effectively protects police officers from personal liability for acts committed in the line of duty. It's part of our special series, Justice for All.
In no other place in this country or in this state or in this county is somebody allowed to violate somebody else's rights and then be protected and cloaked with a shield of immunity. It just doesn't happen. And that's the problem.
But if he's doing something within the performance's job and he's doing it and it's just a mistake that happens, you know, should he lose his house? I mean, I don't believe so.
These opposing viewpoints on qualified immunity from the president of Nassau County's Police Benevolent Association and a Lake Success-based human rights lawyer echo the positions of many lawmakers and protesters about the issue that is a central sticking point in police reform.
The police are not held accountable to the people they're meant to be protecting.
Qualified immunity is a federal rule that protects police officers accused of violating the constitutional rights of citizens while in the line of duty.
If you're a good cop, you're never going to need qualified immunity. It protects those who are not acting reasonably and who violate the guarantees and somebody's constitutional rights.
There's not a blanket coverage. I mean, if a police officer can't do something that's outrageous and be protected.
The Supreme Court established qualified immunity in 1967. It shields state and local officials, including police officers, from being sued in civil court unless they violate a person's clearly established statutory or constitutional rights.
You can't violate the Constitution, but the police can. Qualified immunity allows them to, because it has this crazy rule that if there was no other case that decided that this act, that this exact officer committed and did was unreasonable or unconstitutional, then this officer can't be liable.
James McDermott says ending the protection could make police officers afraid to carry out their sworn duties.
If you're going to sit there and pause for a second, you're going to put yourself in a position that you might get killed, or the victim that you're protecting, another police officer. And I'm sorry, we're the good guys. We come there to help out. As much as the world's saying right now that we're this, that, and the other thing, we're there to help out.
Qualified immunity can only be fully abolished by the Congress or the Supreme Court. Back in March, the House passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Among the proposed reforms, ending qualified immunity. And if it passes the way it is written now, police could be sued in civil court. And right now, 4 states and New York City have newly passed laws that limit or end qualified immunity. Changes that Amy Marion says can't come too soon.
It's really been a way to completely undercut and gut the Civil Rights Act. And that's how it's been used. And it's, abhorrent.
In New York State, Attorney General Letitia James recently proposed a bill called the Police Accountability Act. It would change the state's laws regarding how officers use force and strengthen a prosecutor's ability to hold the police accountable for unjustified and excessive use of force.
Our goal today is to preserve lives by making sure that under the law, lethal force is the last resort.
The AG says the current laws give the police a blanket defense to use force and says that makes it hard for prosecutors to go after officers who abuse their powers.
It is exceedingly difficult to prosecute police officers who kill civilians because of an expansive justification law that gives officers extraordinary wide latitude to use force.
McDermott says he is not opposed to talking about how to make some possible reforms, but getting rid of qualified immunity should not be one of them.
We're living in the post-George Floyd world. And, when you see something horrific happen, people want to make broad changes, and you got to slow everything down and make changes, but make the right changes.
I'm Tama Ponton, News 12.
The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which passed the House largely on party lines, has yet to get a vote in the Senate. To see more of our special Justice for All series, use the camera on your smartphone to scan the QR code you see right there at the bottom of your screen.